I'll tell you the truth, the first time I walked into that building I already knew how the room would see me. You learn to read those looks early in life, the ones that scan your shoes before they meet your eyes, the quick calculations people make when they think you don't belong. That day, the lobby smelled like polished wood and money, the kind of place where silence itself feels expensive, and every step I took echoed a little louder than it should have. I was 19, wearing a jacket I'd owned since high school, hands slightly shaking heart steady in a way that surprised even me. Because I wasn't there to beg. I was there because whether they liked it or not, I had something they couldn't ignore. People love to talk about confidence like it's some magic trait you're born with. That's a lie. Confidence, real confidence, comes from surviving moments where the world tells you you're nothing and choosing not to believe it. I grew up being told I was invisible, expendable, easy to step over. Teachers underestimated me. Managers talked past me. Strangers decided my story before I opened my mouth. You know what I mean, that quiet humiliation that builds over years, not one big trauma, just 1,000 small ones. And eventually you either break or you harden into something sharper. The man who ran that company, let's call him Richard Hale, had built his empire on certainty. Certainty that he was the smartest person in any room. Certainty that success gave him the right to judge who mattered. I'd seen him before from a distance on screens and magazine covers, smiling that polished smile that says, everything's under control. But control is funny like that. It only lasts until the wrong person steps into your line of sight. I wasn't supposed to be there that day. That's what everyone assumed. The receptionist barely looked up when I said his name, just sighed and told me security would escort me out. I waited. I didn't argue. I'd learned long ago that arguing too early only makes people dig in harder. When Richard finally walked through the lobby, phone pressed to his ear, laughing at something someone else said, I stepped forward and spoke before security could grab my arm. "I need to talk to you." He stopped, slowly, like he was surprised a sound had come from my direction. He looked me up and down, not hiding it, then smiled the way adults smile at kids who interrupt them. "Do you have an appointment?" he asked. Calm, amused. "No," I said, "but you're going to want to hear this." People nearby paused. You can feel it when a room starts paying attention. Richard tilted his head, curiosity flickering, then shrugged. "You've got 30 seconds, he said, checking his watch. "Make it interesting." That was the moment. The same kind of moment I'd faced 100 times before, where you either shrink to fit their expectations or stand up and let the ground shake a little. I took a breath and said, "You built this company on something that doesn't belong to you." The smile faded, not completely, just enough to show irritation. "Excuse me," he said. "You heard me," I replied. "And before you laugh, before you tell security to drag me out, just know this. Every decision you've made, every deal you're proud of, every corner you cut, I know about it. And I know why it's about to matter." There it was, the laugh. Sharp, dismissive, designed to put me back in my place. "Kid," he said, lowering his voice like he was giving advice. "People like you don't understand how this world works." I smiled then. Not because it was funny, but because I'd heard that sentence my whole life. "That's where you're wrong," I said quietly. "People like me understand it better than anyone. We're the ones paying for it." Security stepped closer. Richard raised a hand, stopping them. He wanted the show. "All right," he said, "enlighten me. Who are you supposed to be?" I looked him straight in the eye. "I'm the one who decides whether you keep that office upstairs." The silence after that felt heavy. Someone nearby laughed nervously. Richard's eyes hardened. "You're done," he said. "Get him out." They grabbed my arm, not rough, just firm. As they pulled me away, I leaned in one last time and said, "Check the file labeled Meridian Trust. If it hasn't crossed your desk yet, it will." That was the gamble. The thing I'd spent years preparing for. I walked out of that building with my heart racing, not knowing if I'd just destroyed everything or finally set it in motion. See, what Richard didn't know, what no one knew, was that his company had been built with a safeguard. A silent one. The original founder had believed power needed limits, had hidden control in a trust designed to wake up only when the company lost its soul. That trust had been dormant for over a decade. Until me. The next 48 hours were hell. My phone stayed silent. I replayed every word, every look, wondering if I'd miscalculated. Doubt creeps in fast when you've spent your life being told you're wrong. But then the call came. A number I didn't recognize. A calm voice asking me to come in to bring documentation to be prepared. When I walked into that boardroom, it was different from the lobby. No smiles, no small talk. Just eyes watching me like they were finally seeing me clearly. Richard was there, seated near the head of the table, confidence still intact but strained. He didn't look at me. The chairwoman cleared her throat. "We've reviewed the material," she said. "We've verified the trust, and we've verified you." Richard finally looked up. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "You're telling me this kid gets to rewrite everything because of a technicality?" I spoke before anyone else could. "It's not a technicality," I said. "It's accountability." He stood pointing at me. "You don't know what it takes to run something like this. You don't know the sacrifices." I met his gaze. "I know exactly what it costs," I said. "Because people like me are the ones paying it." That's when the truth spilled out. Reports he'd buried. Warnings he'd ignored. Profits built on harm he'd convinced himself was necessary. Each document hit the table like a hammer. Richard's voice grew louder, more desperate, until finally it cracked. "This isn't fair," he said. "I built this." "No," the chairwoman replied calmly. "You managed it. There's a difference." When the vote came down, it was unanimous. Richard was removed. Authority transferred. The room exhaled in a way I'll never forget. Walking out of that building later, I felt lighter, but not triumphant. Winning doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like quiet relief mixed with a strange sadness. Because I wasn't there to destroy him. I was there to stop the damage from continuing. Richard tried to fight it, of course. People like him always do. Smear campaigns, lawsuits, rumors about my past, my mental state, my intentions. But truth has a way of stacking up, and eventually it gets too heavy to ignore. Investigations followed. Others came forward. What started as my story became something much bigger. Months later, the company looked different. Not perfect. Just honest in a way it hadn't been before. Workers had a voice. Decisions had consequences. And me, I went back to living my life still underestimated by strangers, still judged at first glance. But something had shifted inside me. I no longer needed their approval. Sometimes I think back to that first moment in the lobby, to the way Richard laughed when he thought he had all the power. And I wonder how many people are standing in rooms like that right now, being told they don't belong. Being laughed at, dismissed, overlooked. If that's you, hear this. Being underestimated is painful, but it's also an advantage. It means no one sees you coming. So here's my question for you. Was what I did justice, or was it revenge dressed up as morality? When power is built on harm, who gets to decide when it's taken away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with me. Share your own story. And if you've ever been told you're too small, too insignificant, or out of place to matter, remember this: the people who change the game are almost never the ones everyone's watching.